we are live. All right, welcome, Andre. I'm really excited to get to know your story and excited to see where you're coming from. I already can tell that this is going to be a fun one based on the short interaction we had we had beforehand. So
Already, yes.
I like to start with before we get into the professional stuff and your story and
Yes,
what
sir.
you actually do in the world. First, as a human being, what is it like to be you?
Oh my goodness, God, that's the question of the year. It's funny because somebody asked me this like years ago. I don't know if you know my background, but I was a professional dancer. I danced with Michael Jackson, Prince, Paul Abdul, all these guys back in. So I made my way all the way to the 1% in showbiz as a dancer, as a backup dancer, as a whatever commercial dancer, TV commercial, movies, television, whatever. But at one point, in an audition, it was interesting. It's like the producer had a conversation with each one of us after, like wanted to know us better than just standing there dancing and whatever. So the people that he picked, and he asked me the question. He goes, "So if you had to be anybody in the world, who would you want to be?" And I remember thinking, that's such a strange question. I'm like, me? And he goes, "Well, you don't want to be like somebody famous, so you don't want to be Michael Jackson. You know, he's a dancer like you." And I go, "I no, Michael's Michael. Like Michael could be Michael. I don't want to be Michael. I'll be me. Like whatever that looks like." So it's an interesting question. Like, who am I? So reframe the question for me again because I kind of lost it.
What is it like to be you, as like from your perspective of life?
So, God, that's a good question. So I had a really strange childhood, very strange beginning, difficult through my teenage years, difficult in my early adulthood. I had to pretty much have to fight for everything and I had to fight for myself and kind of raise myself. So it was quite a difficult adventure. But in the name of survival, right, I got resilient and I kept pushing, I kept pushing. I wanted to give up a few times, but there was a little tug in my heart, like a little God whisper that was the one I wanted to quit. It'd go like, yeah, no, there's something huge for you to do. I'm like,
Hmm.
really? Well, this is not fun, right? This is a, so I kept going, but now on the other side of my life, here at this point, the place I never thought I could be, married with children, beautiful life, lovely life, wife. I live in California. I live in paradise. I'm in the hills. I'm in the country, in the middle of the city. It's just, and the weather here is unbelievable. I do this for a living, right? I help people with relationships. And the topper of all this is I'm also an ordained minister.
Mm.
So some of my clients I married myself. I just did two last summer. Like I flew to Texas to marry them, clients, and I flew to it was one in Texas, one in Vegas. So my life is just on some level I can't believe I'm this guy, and I can't believe that I'm here. But I kind of fought for it. But it's really fun being me. Like I just get to live like this, right? I work online. I do a lot of live events as well. But like to help people and you know to be kind of a mentor, and there's nothing like it. I have to tell you. So
Nice.
it's really good being me. It's really good. It's almost too much for one guy.
Almost too much. All right. Well, great to hear that it's fun now. And also, when you're going through it, like through struggles and through tough times,
Yeah.
when on the other side of it, you kind of become grateful for it and you become like happy that that happened because that allows you to create and to build who you become, right? And to create the life that you have
Well,
now.
it's interesting because for some people, some of my clients are struggling because they're trying to get on top of their pain, on top of their traumas. So so if you survive your traumas, I say this all the time. If you survive your traumas, you push through them, you work it out, right? There's a lot of gifts that come from the other side because when
Mm.
things are difficult, you become more empathetic, you become more empathic, you become more um, resilient, you're stronger, you're tougher. At the same time, you have more sensitivities, you can feel people, right? So like there's a whole lot of goodies that come from the struggle. Then those are the gifts, but they typically come on the other side of doing the work. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, on the other side of that, life is great. Like, and that's what I help people with because I've done it.
Mm.
right? I understand the struggle, and all pretty much from my perspective, the only thing that we all need is one person to see us, one person to hear us, one person to go, it'll be all right.
Mm.
I'm here, like kind of thing. And because if I had that, I would have gone here so much faster, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I want to be that guy for anybody who's looking for help.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same way about my struggles with depression and social anxiety. I talk about it now as a gift wrapped in sandpaper, right? Because it's soft.
Sorry, I'm gonna steal that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, of
gift
course.
wrapped
Take,
in sandpaper.
yeah, yeah,
Yep,
take it. I've talked about it a bunch.
that's
It's a great metaphor for it. All right, so that was just a great intro. So tell me who you are, what you do, and why is it so important for you to do this work?
well. So my name is Andre Paradis. I'm a relationship coach, NLP coach. NLP is neuro linguistic programming. It should be called neuro linguistic reprogramming. This is how I actually the tools that I use to remove traumas from the nervous system for my patients, my clients. Right? I can't get anybody in a healthy relationship when you're carrying the trauma and the baggage of your childhood and the past relationships, right? So that's essential. NLP, I use NLP, it's fantastic. It's quick, it works. So I'm also an educator of effective communication strategies. Ooh, that's a mouthful. But a big part of the struggle with humans, especially in relationships, is we don't communicate well. We don't know how to communicate well. One crazy thing that nobody's aware of is that men and women speak and listen completely different to each other. And so a lot of collision, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of hurt feelings come from that. We don't even know, like, because it makes no sense, right? Like, I look at you, we speak English, you hear the words that come out of my mouth, so we're communicating, right? When I speak to a woman, what I say is not what she's hearing. She has a filter on the way the women speak to each other. So I speak to a woman, she's not hearing what I'm saying the way I'm saying it. She's got a filter on. When women speak to us, they think they're communicating, but we have another filter, right? So that's a huge part of my work, helping people like in their miscommunication, especially in the love dynamic, because there's a lot more emotion, there's a lot more at stake, right? So if people take things more seriously, more personal, it's more hurtful. So it's an important tool. So that's who I am. That's what I do.
All right,
Part
all right.
question next. So you had part two of that question, I think.
Yes, why is it so important for you to do this
Uh,
work specifically in relationships?
so f- for me, like I said, my childhood was more than challenging. It was, and so I really believed. I didn't think I was going to be here very long, right? So in a nutshell, like I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to be born. That's the message that I received. So with that, like, um, why am I here? Do you know what I mean? And I spent my why am I here? So what I did is, out of that question that I came to at 5 years old, I started watching people. Like my radar became boop, and I started watching people, trying to understand my circumstances, but also understand how things are so wiki wonky, right? So I became with that, became fascinated with the human condition, right? Fascinated with humans, like because I remember in school, in high school, there was a guy sitting front right, the first desk on the right against the wall. 15 years old. We're all 15 years old, but he's got like straight hair, kind of shaggy. He's dressed well, and he would do this thing in the front, like he do it on purpose. He would like throw his hair back, like do you know what I mean? And the girls would faint. They would just faint. They would pass out, right? He was just like he just threw his head back and would fall back, and it like be doing it in front of the class, but oh my! And I'm like, how is this? This guy has swag. This guy has confidence. How is it possible? He's 15 years old. He knows nothing, right? I'm awkward. This one's a geek. This one's a math genius, right? Who's so awkward. He wants to, you can't even talk to him. Like, this one's a little loose. This one's a little slutty. Like, how does that all work, right? like, so I became fascinated with the human condition just watching,
Okay.
and in that there's a lot of. Eventually, it's like I said, I was 5 years old when I started doing this. I could pick up people's energy just looking at them, just being with them. being on the phone with them, I pick up energy, right? So that's a big part of my work to be able to help people because I feel them. Do you know what I mean? So, long story short, part of my journey was to find myself because I had no guidance, no mentorship. Um, so I ended up at the age of 23. I started taking personal development workshops, trying to find my way, trying to find my way in every way, like personally, financially, business, what kind of career I was going to do. Like I said, I struggled with everything. So personal development, personal development, right? Which is all the study of humans and the study of me, really, is what it was. So I've always done that, continuing my research, my personal journey. In 2006, I was in a workshop in Northern California for my business. I was trying to raise the roof of my business. So I took a business workshop because that's what I do for 3 days. On a flight back to Los Angeles, I meet some people. I met some people in the workshop. I'm sitting in the same row with this couple that I met, right? And I thought it was random. Like, oh, interesting. Like we're sitting together. This is when I thought life was random, and that moment
Okay.
changed my life so much. I'm like, this is nothing is random. I realized the dots were all connected. I'll
Mm.
explain. So anyway, I thought it was random. I'm sitting in the plane, and the lady says to me, "What do you do next? What are you doing next weekend?" I go, "Next weekend I'm free. Why?" She goes, "You want to come to a workshop? It's on me." I go, "Of course," because I'm curious. I'm going to learn something. I don't even care what it's about. You know what I mean? Like, and those things can be expensive. She's comping me. Of course. Then I go, "What is it? What's the workshop?" She goes, "Oh, it's called Understanding Women." Okay. All right. When I tell this story to my friends, they're like, "There's no such thing, dude. There's no such thing. You can't understand women." Right? That wasn't my reaction. My reaction was because I look like this and I'm artistic and blah blah blah, and I thought that's it was. I thought it was something about me that that I always attracted sweet women.
Okay.
Always. I never did the crazy stuff that my friends did. I did the yelling, the scenes. I couldn't always attracted sweet women, and I thought it was me. Right? So, okay, now I'm gonna spend a weekend in a workshop called Understanding Women. Really? So, what are you gonna teach me? Like, I got this, right? Like, seriously, I wasn't arrogant. It was more like whatever, right? So, but I'm a man of my word, so I said I would go. So she counted on me to go. So I went. Thought it was gonna be cute, right? Be nice, be a good guy, don't yell, don't like just fun it. That's I just thought it was gonna be cute. And I walked in there Saturday morning, 400 people in a space. And instantly I'm thinking, oh, something's going on here. Like this is not cute. Something is going on here. And sure enough,
Okay.
over the course of the workshop, there was actually 300 women in the space and 100 men, which I thought was weird because if you had a workshop called Understanding Men, there would not be one man in there. Right? There would be a full women trying to understand man.
Yeah.
So understanding women workshop, I'm thinking, what are the girls doing here? Like they don't know about themselves. Like, but that was part of the plan. We actually they sat us men surrounded by women so that we could check in as we learn this stuff that we have no idea that we don't know. Right? So
Mhm.
anyway, all I can tell you is about 7 times over the workshop, I fell off my chair. I came off my chair on the floor in complete disbelief. I could not believe what I was learning. Right? It was insane. It was insane. And again, like, this is the guy who thinks he knows women. Do you know what I mean? So I'm learning this stuff. So the teacher or the speaker would say when she dropped a bomb on us, that we'd go like, "What? That's impossible." She was, "Just so you don't think it's me who's crazy, the woman out front. Let's take 5 minutes and check with the ladies around you." Right? There was a 19-year-old on my left. There was a 30-year-old to my right. Somebody else in front. Somebody behind. Right? I checked with the ones to my left and right more. But so we take a 5 minute break about this that I just learned. And I remember I always start with a 19-year-old. I go, "No." And they go, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, that's crazy. That's not. How do you get it together?" "Well, sometimes we don't. But that's crazy. Yeah, sometimes we think we're crazy. We don't like to talk about that, right?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So at the end of the workshop, my brain is really all over the walls. Like I just cannot believe what I'm hearing. I cannot believe what I don't know. Now, at the time, by the way, I was married and we had a baby. We had a 4 year old and a toddler. My wife is fantastic. We're not struggling. I'm not looking for this. This is completely random, right? I have my family. Everything's fine. But I realized at the end of the workshop that first I didn't know anything about women, which is bizarre. But the was the scariest part is I realized I know nothing about my wife.
Hmm.
Oh shit, this is dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is that I'm doing to her that she is believing that I'm doing on a purpose, that I know what I'm doing, that I'm not? Right? To me, that was a huge liability. You know, my siblings, I have four siblings. They're all married and divorced two, three times. One's on four, I think. Right? I have my family, I have my kids, I have my wife. I am not going to be a statistic because I didn't know. And that's how it started with my this work, this taking this life's research study into relationships and men and women, just because I didn't want us to be a statistic. So I did it for us
Hmm.
to make sure that we were to survive and actually really kind of thrive. And I ended up taking all that companies, all the workshops that they had. I think they had 11 or 10 or 11. I took all of them. I paid for all of them. On the other side, after taking a workshop, you could actually assist, for free. You get to be in the room for free because
Hmm.
you've learned the material. So I was in every weekend. It was a damn workshop trying to get to, the same material, but in different ways, different teachers, different questions, right? And the more I learned, the more I realized I didn't. Like, the more I learned, the more I realized how much I didn't know. So that company, eventually, I became a workshop leader for them on track, and then that didn't follow through. So I started studying with John Gray, Esther Perel, Shanti Felhan, Dr. Pat Allen in Los Angeles here for 3.5 years in private. Family child therapist for 46 years, I think. I got to sit in the room with her for 3.5 years and learning everything she learned about relationships, men, women, raising children. So that's my work. So it started again just because I didn't want to be a statistic, and the more I did it, the crazier I got. And I wanted to know everything. And I'm still researching today, but I have a whole lot of training in my back pocket that makes, helping people with their relationships really kind of fun and easy even.
Amazing.
So there's
What a
long story,
story.
sorry.
What a story. And
Yeah.
the way you tell the story is fascinating as well. And you definitely got me very, very, very curious to what were some of the main things that you said you fell off the chair about 7 times
Oh my
during
god.
the workshop.
Yeah.
So
So
what were some of the main things that made
the
you fall off?
the first one is, again, so not realizing we speak differently because we don't know that. We can't even consider that. But get this. So you know this, that somehow us men not wanting to, not meaning to, constantly hurt their feelings. You
Yeah.
with me? We constantly hurt their feelings. And then they get their feelings hurt, and they're mad. Then you go, "What's wrong?" Nothing. Okay, sure, right? And then, and then we if we end up having a conversation about it because their feelings are hurt, then we'll say things as men, going like, "Well, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. Well, how'd you get there? Like, what's wrong with you?" Right? Or you're too sensitive. That's not, you took it the wrong way, but that's not me. That's on you. Like, we say all kinds of shit because that's how we deal with stuff, right? As men, forget about it. Don't let it bother you. Move on. Like, just blow it off, right? Because that's how we do it. But when you do this to a woman, she wants to kill you because you're basically denying her feelings. Anyway, so that first time off the chair, I think that was the first time. I, so I never want to hurt my wife's feelings. Why would there's no gain in that, right? But to a woman, get this. This is insane. This scared the shit out of me. To a woman, it's so obvious what you just said was hurtful, or what you didn't say, by the way. You don't have to say something. You just have to not say something. You hurt her feelings. She got her hair done, you don't notice? Her feelings are hurt. No, she's mad at you because you didn't notice she got her hair done because she's getting her hair done for you. Or the new dress or the new makeup, right? Like, so you could say something to hurt her feelings. You could not say something hurt her feelings. You could do something to hurt her feelings. You could not do something and hurt her feelings. To a woman, these things are so obvious. So obvious. So this is it. Get this. So they often think, I want to say they pretty much just think that we know what we're doing when we hurt their feelings. That actually we know what we're doing because it's so obvious to them. We're like, he knows better, right? To say this. So they think we know what we're doing, which means if we're still doing it, then we actually do it on purpose. Are you kidding me? So my first thought was like, how many years of this can a woman take? Thinking I'm actually hurting your feelings. I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it on purpose because I think it's fun or something. How many years does she hates me, resents the shit out of me, right? So that's to me was like, no, no. And it's funny because I came home and I had a conversation with my wife, and because I again never have any intentions of hurting her feelings, right? And my
Mm-hmm.
wife doesn't bite back, so she'll get like she's got big brown eyes, and you can see she's like something is wrong, but she doesn't bitch, she doesn't cry, she doesn't, she just would get quiet. So I never thought it was me. I thought it was other people, traffic, somebody flipped her off, or students, whatever, right? So I came home with that bit, bit of information, and they go, "Can you believe that women get their feelings hurt all the time?" And she just looked at me. I'm like, "What?" She's all, she's so sweet because she didn't say you hurt my feelings all the time. She said, "I get my feelings hurt all the time." No, right? But I understood it's the way they filtered our actions or lack of actions or words or lack of words. So that was like, we have to talk about this, right? This is not what I said. This is not what I meant. I can and clean it up. When we heard the feelings, we have to clean it up because they don't forget one damn thing, right? They'll remember forever. So these things have to be cleaned up. But you know, as a rule, we don't know how to do this. So that's the communication part I was talking about. That's one. So um, the other ones is stuff like we have no idea that they're constantly aware of their physical safety. I don't know if you know this. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
knows this. We don't know I'm man. Like, you know, because men aren't we are never I'm not, and again, the data and the research that I've done following through, men are not afraid to walk to their car in the dark. Are you? I'm not. I never run to my car in the dark. I don't give a crap, right? But women do, right? They're afraid of elevators, staircases, parking lots, a van on the side of the road as she's walking on the sidewalk. Like they're always aware of their physical safety. And we took a poll in the space that day, and literally every woman raised their hand. They felt physically unsafe at one point during the week. And sometimes we scare the shit out of them. Sometimes we're the lack of safety, right? But they don't feel safe in the world ever. They're smaller and weaker. They're aware of it, so they're always in danger. They're always aware of the possibility of getting jumped, attacked, robbed, whatever. So they're always in a condition of like some kind of stressful hypervigilance awareness. Oh God, that's ugly, right? That's so instant. A lot of empathy for them at that moment. There was another moment, so I could go on, but like
Yeah.
it was an amazing workshop, an amazing like it was an amazing event, and whew, woke me up hard, and I'm glad because it changed my life.
Yeah. The
Hmm.
physical safety specifically, thanks for sharing. The physical
Yeah,
safety specifically, I can very much understand because that's what social anxiety does too. Like that's how I used to be, always like
got it.
around the corner, always like turning my head. So,
Yeah,
but obviously I don't live like that anymore, right? And living like
right,
that is
right.
exhausting. And I think
Absolutely.
I was at a either I was listening to a recording of a workshop and they did the same exercise like you said, like if you're a woman and you felt unsafe in the last week, raise your hand, and like
Right.
99% right, yeah.
Yep.
And if you're a man and you felt like nobody,
Nothing.
but like one
Nobody.
guy, you're like one guy,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
No,
it
man.
is wild.
Yeah. For us, the ladies started with like, how many of you ladies have been, feeling aware of your physical safety this month? Everybody. The past 2 weeks, everybody. The past week, almost everybody. And she said, the last thing she says, how many of you have been unsafe? This is like 10 o'clock in the morning or so. She goes, how many of you have felt unsafe today? And like half the room, just to get to the workshop, parking, getting up in the elevator, all that. Oh my God. Like, talk about that. To me, that was devastating.
Mm,
Talk about a terrible way to live. But again, that's not their fault, right? It's just smaller and weaker. So that awareness is constant, exhausting,
yeah.
frustrating. But talk about it burns you out, and that explains another piece. They get so overly overwhelmed, but look at the awareness that they have to have all the time. This is like one layer.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, it's tough. That part is tough. What is
Yeah.
more, I guess, um, fascinating or daunting to me at this stage is the fact that men really don't know what we're doing, or we really don't have a clue, but they think that
Yep.
we do it on purpose, right? And that we have
Ta-da.
fun about it. And
Yep.
this is what happened as well. In my relationship, this was like 2 weeks ago actually, and I remember she oh my fiance, she gets a little bit louder. Let's put it that way. You know, you say your wife, you say your wife is very quiet.
I was
My
very
my
quiet,
fiance
and she gets
my fiance
yeah.
gets loud sometimes. Um,
Okay.
and and I know how to deal with it mostly because I like just like you, I've been obsessed with personal development and understanding human beings since 13, 12, 13 years old, right?
Damn, nice.
So I'm decent, but
Right.
definitely have a long ways to go, but decent, right? But what was fascinating, literally what happened, I started my sentence, she didn't let me finish my sentence, right? But she already assumed what I was gonna
What you
say
were to say?
next,
Yep.
right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And she
Yep.
got wild, basically she was like, "Oh, you're having fun playing with my feelings, right?" I'm like, "No, what? No!" Like, first of all, like that's not even what the sentence meant. Like, you didn't even let me finish, right? And then
Oi.
um, yeah. So
Uh,
I've
yeah,
definitely
I get it.
experienced that a lot.
I
I've
get it.
definitely seen
People in
that.
relationships, man, it's just like, I don't. How did you get there? That's not what I said. That's not what I
Right.
meant. That's not what I was talking about. That's not. That's not. And then we say stupid stuff like, because we get frustrated, like you're making stuff up. You're making shit up. Are you crazy? Are you okay? Are you on your period? And now she wants to kill you, right? But because we don't understand, like, how did you get there? That's not at all. That has nothing to do with what I intended. That's not what
Yeah.
I said. How do you make this shit up?
Yeah.
Right? But again, it's not understanding that what we say is not what they hear,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what they say is not what we hear, and not knowing this part.
Yep.
And then she assumed you said this. That's not what you said. And now she hates you, or you're in trouble, or she's angry. Either she's yelling or she shuts down, right? Like, how do you
Yep.
undo on this, right? That's a big part of my work, right? To decode this. And when you do
Mm-hmm.
trip each other's wire, because we do, how do you fix it? Because if you don't fix it, this is what, in my world, this is what takes people apart, right?
Yeah.
We meet, we have fun, we connect, right? We're like together, let's go, let's do life. And then these little injuries do this. Tick, tick. And then
Mm.
over the years, this is what happens. Tick, 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 right? Like he's a jerk and she's crazy, so we don't talk
Mm-hmm.
and kind of put it under the rug, but we don't fix it, so it creates distance. And often at the point where we're so far apart, right? People will have an affair, and it's not the affair that actually breaks the thing. It's everything the past few years that never got solved, resolved, renegotiated, explained, and apologized for when it's appropriate. So like people come undone not because of the big stuff. It's the little stuff for years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big part of my work. Like, how do you clean up when there's an injury? How do you bring it up? Respectfully. So this, instead of what the hell's wrong with you, right? That's what you get if you come in a guy frustrated, he's gonna push back, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
But women often wait till they're so angry to bring it up that it's brah.
Yeah.
Well, to a man who's a warrior by nature, that's an attack, and he's gonna push back, and you're gonna lose, and you're gonna think he's a big jerk.
Yep.
That's what doesn't work. That's what most people do, right? So there's
Yep.
another way to do this that's respectful, that actually brings the best out of him, makes him want to fix it, adjust, explain, as opposed to what's wrong with you
Yep.
and all this stuff. That's like, so it's it's a fun discovery, and to watch people learn how to do this. I have a client, she's 26 years with her husband,
Mm-hmm.
always got run over, could never bring something up without him getting mad at her, but she always didn't know she was being disrespectful. The way she did it, the timing she did it, the way she approached him was all like triggering the warrior. So he'd always go rah, and she's like, he's a jerk. I can't talk to him. He doesn't hear me. Doesn't want to hear me. I go, no, I think you probably just come at him the wrong way, right? Like
Mm.
if for women it's being cherishing is the approach. For men it's respect. If you don't respect the man, if you approach him disrespectfully, you get an animal in front of you. And you're right, he's gonna turn into a jerk.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, what am I go, I'll teach you, right? And and on the other side of the work where she started to practice, she said the first time, because she did it 26 years, she could never bring something up. He would get mad at her. They wouldn't talk for 3 days.
This is wow.
That's horrible, right? Three
Yes.
kids,
Oh my god.
three kids, but he's a good old boy, and he was whatever. But she just didn't know how to approach him. So the first time I taught her this, a 5-step cleanup, I call it 5 step, right? So the first time I taught her, she's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And I go, it's because it's so respectful. He was not going to react badly. He's going to be more curious, and he's going to want to know, oh, okay, so then how do I adjust for you? Like, sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes he'll actually ask you. Anyway, so 26 years of failure with him. She'd resolve herself and not say anything and just be miserable and take her place. So the first time she did it, she was so nervous. She says it took her 45 minutes to wind up because in her head she's like, it's not gonna work.
Mm.
It's not gonna work. And she says as soon as she had that voice on the other ear was my voice saying, it's gonna work beautifully. Try. All right. So she says for like 45 minutes she went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. She finally got the courage and came at him with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she goes, you didn't get mad? He looked at me like, really? I didn't know you felt that way. She goes, yeah, I've been feeling that way for a long time. Really? How long? Like, he was concerned. He was a little bit upset that it's been going on for so long, right? And she says, we had a conversation. We got close. We got intimate, right? Like, it kind of took the tension out of the air. And as a woman, she just got to, like, I could talk to him. I could talk to him, and he heard me. And now he's upset that it went on for so long, and now he wants to make it better. I'm like, that's a man. Anyway, so it's fun, fun, fun to watch people kind of using the tools, right, and really kind of stop getting their feelings hurt or feeling disrespected in a relationship because that's what destroys us.
Yeah. That's exactly. Oh, well, the first type that you described was exactly what I saw with my parents, right? Where
Yep,
and always
yep,
bubbled up and then fight and then
yep.
screaming, screaming, screaming. Um, and so that's what that was a big part of like. There's no way I'm gonna end up like that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I need to find better ways because this
me too. Me too.
I'm
It
not
was the
from.
same. My family's the same. Like the screaming, throwing, right? And
Yep,
my
yep,
dad sometimes my dad would get violent with her sometimes and with us, And I remember thinking, I am not playing this game. I mean,
yep,
not doing this, right? So it's, but sometimes we don't. Like I said, people get frustrated, you get your feelings hurt, you get disrespected, you get angry, you shout, or you go, I'm sick of your crap. This is bullshit, and then it starts, right? And the
yep.
problem is when things get heated up, right? And especially if we feel like we're not being heard, we start yelling to be heard. And then we yell on top of each other. And then if
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work, because it doesn't work, right? Then we start with the insults, trying to destroy the other person. And then the problem with that is things that you say out loud cannot be unheard. So you may create permanent damage in a stupid fight because you don't know how to negotiate and talk, right? So you end up having to yell and push each other down, trying to get on top of each other. That's not what successful people do. Successful people in relationships have each other's back. They don't try to get on top of the other, right? But again, frustration and anger will take us in places that it's just not. Don't go there. There's no reason. I always say there's no reason to yell. There's absolutely no reason to yell. If things get up tense and you see the tension come up and like tempers are flaring up, take your corners. Take your corners. Without don't get in that because again you may say stuff you regret that you can't take back, right? I have people cursing at each other and calling each other's name in the name of that's what doesn't work. So
Oh yeah,
there's
no
another
way.
way. There's another
Doesn't
way.
work.
There's another way.
The way what I've learned has been even if because obviously like you said we trip each other up we mess up so even if um she gets triggered and she gets angry and it doesn't happen too much
Yep.
but
Yeah.
I literally just, and I learned this in the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's like
Yeah.
a chapter on enlightened relationships, right?
Yep.
And just all together. So I think about it as like, oh, okay, she's like, the pain body is taking over, and she's
Yep.
basically not really there. So what I
Yep.
have to do is
Right.
stay. What I have to do is stay present, right? So
Right.
she would be snapping, and I'm just like standing there, smiling, like, yeah, I hear you, okay. And and it literally what he described in the book happened every single time I did this,
She
because
stops,
she gets more aggressive first, and then
and then she collapses.
she
Yeah.
stops, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
it gets like, because she's trying to get a reaction, or like, the let's say the anger is trying to get an angry reaction out of me.
She's trying to
Yeah,
elevate
yeah.
it.
And I'm just like, I ain't going there, like, that's not gonna
Right.
help. And then she got angry. Oh, I'm fighting with myself. It was like so funny to me, but I'm just standing here. Oh, and now you're making me fight with myself. I'm like, go, go for it if you want to.
You be you. Go ahead, have fun. Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I, I call that, being the rock or the mountain in the storm. Right.
yeah.
If men and women are different for that reason, by the way, we're completely complementary. What I do naturally is not what she does naturally, and vice versa. So women are emotional, and often their lives go throughout the day. They feel good and bad. It changes like the weather. That's normal. We can't help that. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's traffic. Sometimes their friend or the boss or the business. So they go through a roller coaster every day of feeling good and bad, feeling good and bad, feeling good and bad, and angry and happy, and it changes all day long, right? We're like, right? So, but that's the beauty of men and women, because if men are emotional, which happens, right? The soft man, an emotional woman with an emotional man, guess what happens, right? It's the end of the world. It's a shit show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way to manage this, that's a lot more helpful, that's a lot more manageable, is she is going to go into a storm. That happens. Again, usually they wait too long to bring up the injuries, and now they have a pile of them, and they're really angry because you always and you never. I always say bullshit. I don't always and ever nothing, right? It's, you're trying to blame me for something here, right? So she comes with the storm, and what do you do? We are the rock in the storm. You just stand there. It's just like you said. I do this. For me, I do this. I'm all,
Okay.
and then it comes and it comes. But I don't get involved in that. I can't, if again, I don't put fuel on the fire. That's insane, right? And if you're right, she gets more upset. Like, you're just looking at me. Are you something? Don't you have anything to say? I'm like, not yet. You're not finished. Right? Well, but you always and never. I'm like, and I stand there like in the storm. And what happened is, when the storm hits the mountain, it stops.
Mm.
So often, without being reactive and just letting her just let it all out, right? It'll go up, 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 and then it goes, collapses. Now she's crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't know. I just don't know why you like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And then
And now
it's
that she's calm, then this
yeah.
is calm. I'm like, wow, that was a lot. You good? So how do we get here? How did this get so bad? I have no idea. You're just like all of a sudden, right? But it's not all of a sudden. It's always an accumulation of. But yeah, you can't be the storm with the storm. This is going to be a typhoon that you'll not recover from, and that's what happens. Right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's been exactly my experience for sure. Up, 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 and then but down, and then
Yep.
and then crying,
Crying and then crying. Yep.
and then later we kind of explain, talk about it, laugh about it, and move on. So
Because typically it started with something stupid that was
yeah,
never addressed.
yeah,
That it,
yeah,
that she made something about it. That means you don't love her, respect her, care for her. Don't. And then, like, the meaning gets bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden she's angry, and then boom, she throws it at you. You're like, not sure how we
what?
got here.
Yeah.
But my favorite line is like, wow, that was a lot. How did we get here?
Mm,
How did it get so bad? I'm just standing here.
mm,
You always, you never, I don't always, and never, nothing. You know this. So, well, last night or yesterday, last week, we did. It was very Oh, here it is. Okay, so we get to go back. And then again, when you approach somebody rationally, I want to say rationally, because as males, we tend to be more rational than emotional, right? You approach me rationally about something that happened that made you feel like this. I'm concerned. And then, like I said, often they misunderstand us and they get their feelings hurt because they thought, right? I can use so many examples. Like I'll tell you, I'll give you one right now. It's hysterical. One of my clients, he's on the phone in the dining room with his buddy from work. Right, they're on a cell phone, blah blah blah. And for my when I gathered, the kitchen is kind of open ceiling, so his wife's in the kitchen, but she could hear. She's right there on the the ceiling's open. So they're talking, blah. The two guys are talking, and she's in the kitchen, whatever. And they go from blah 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 blah, and he goes, he dropped his voice completely on the phone. Right, he just dropped his voice, got really quiet, and she's all, "What's going on?" So she actually leans in because that was weird, and then she hear him say, "She's fucking crazy, man. I don't know what the hell we're gonna do with that. But, like, this is just right." And she's all, oh, "How can he talk about me this way to his friend?" Because she knew the friend, right? So instantly, just devastated, right? Storms down the hallway to the bathroom, slams the door. He's still on the phone. Not, he knows nothing, right? He knows nothing. Slams the door, right? And it's just, how could he talk about me that way? I can't believe he called me crazy. Da, da, da. And then she kind of wrangled herself up. She had my voice. She said my voice came up in her head like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Do we really know what happened, right? Was that really for you? Was that right? And so she's like, oh, right. So, but she went all the way in the hole, right? Like it was like, how could he talk
Mm.
about me like this? So she calmed herself down. She says she comes back in the dining room and she's like, hey, babe, um, can I ask you something? He goes, yeah, sure. Right? Not we need to talk. We need to talk. We'll make him fight.
Yeah.
Right? We need to talk. Me says go like this. Okay, I don't want trouble. Right?
Mm.
So we don't say I need to talk. Like, and can I ask you something? Make me curious. He goes, sure. She goes, I heard you talk with John just now, and it really hurt my feelings the way you talked about me. Right? Call me crazy. And he's for a second he's like, what are you talking about? She goes, I heard like you were talking and you lower your voice and you said I was crazy. And he's like, he's got to go back, right? He's all, he goes, oh my God. We're talking about Susie at work. She is fucking crazy. Like, not you, right? But like, again, if she didn't bring that up for him to clean up, she would have carried this for the rest of her life. You know, an injury that would hurt her, it would come back and come back and come back because they don't forget anything. And that's the survival mechanism that we understand now. We forget everything the moment we talk about it. They don't. And if they, this especially, so what, when you do something like this, what happens is when you ask for what happened, often you'll get an explanation like this. That had nothing to do, you misunderstood, right? That's not what I meant. That is not how, that was, there's no, it was not for you to make some meaning out of it, right? That had nothing to do with you, often we'll say. And sometimes, you know what I mean? As men, sometimes we're forgetful, we're aloof, right? We forget, you know, which to them is an insult, right? Because if you forget me, then it means you don't care for me very much, right? So either you get an explanation, ladies, you get an explanation, and I'm gonna tell you, 97% of the time you'll be wrong what you assumed that he meant or what that meant. Just I'm telling you, just go check it out first before you like go down the bunny hole and then attack him later. Go check so you get an explanation or an apology. I'm so sorry. You're right. That was unkind. I kind of like was in the moment. I got carried away. So sorry, babe. Done. Love you. Yeah.
Mm.
What's for dinner? It's really simple, but we are not raised. We are not taught
Yeah.
that way. People, we get triggered. We get emotional. We lose our shit, and then the damage is done. And now we have to. Typically, like I said, people will not talk for 2 3 days, and after 2 3 days, they can't stand it, and they kind of come back together. But it's not been fixed. This is what happened. You have to fix it anyway. So I could do
Yeah.
this all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any overall framework for communication or for people who either are struggling with communication or just want to make sure that their relationship is going to last and they're
Yeah,
going to
it
do
was
very well?
as part of what I teach, part of my program, right? First, understanding how we speak differently, listen differently, and that whole thing is a learning curve. It takes a minute to really kind of see it, get it, and work with it because we do it both instinctively. We don't pay attention. So again, to kind of massage that, trying to catch it, trying to wait, that's not what she's saying. Wait, right, and vice versa. You know what I mean? I take some practice, but the rest of it is I have script. I actually have script. This is what you say. This is what you say. This is how you ask for adjustment. This is what works for him. This is what respect looks like for him. This is what cherishing looks like for her.
Mm.
This is how you approach her. This is how you approach him. So yeah, I have like scripts, and the 5 step is a big tool, to really kind of ask for adjustment and correction respectfully, so nobody gets mad, because you can't get mad when you don't, if you don't attack the person, they can't get mad.
Yeah. All right. All right. Awesome. So if people want to learn more, where can they go?
Uh, I guess my website is probably the best place. It's projectequinox.net. And I do a lot of podcasts that have some blogs, I have some articles.
I hope so. Pretty sure.
Are you ready for this? Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
So, so in because I do a lot of podcasting. Okay, so are you ready for this? So my God mission, God is over there for me. I don't know why. Right there. My God mission. You get whispers. Right. I get guidance. I get um, downloads. I call it. So my business, I'm busy. I'm in Los Angeles. I mean, United States. I'm busy. There's a lot of people struggling, right? I have people in Europe as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the big mission is to teach this to the masses, to bring hope and understanding between men and women around the globes. That's the big mission. So right now, my business is smaller, right? But that's the big goal. So part of the way I'm doing this, I'm doing podcasts and send the waves out. There is hope. There is, there is
Mm-hmm.
material out there. It's all doable. So that's why I do podcasts. And I noticed that in the world of podcasting, there's two types of listeners. There's two types of listeners I noticed. So there are listeners who are kind of poking around. They want some information. They're a little bit like, this is kind of annoying, or I don't know quite how to do. They're just sort of starting to look at information.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a listener, when you're an information seeker and a woman, this is a gift for the ladies. I have a book that I sell on my website. It's right here. It's called The Five Feminine uh, Qualities That High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. It's a workbook. It's got 30 pages, and you get to work and write into it. But this is the work that I've done with men. This is men talking about what they find irresistible about women, and it's not your boobs, and it's not your butt, and it's not your hair color. It's traits, right? Qualities. So it's a gift. Like I said, I sell it online, but so for me to send you this as a listener, I will send you directly to my email address. So if you go to Andre Coaching, the number one at Gmail, right? Andre Coaching one at Gmail, and in the subject box you write "Irresistible Book." I'll send you a book virtually. So that's gift number one for the information seekers. The other type listeners tend to be like kind of people who want to take action. Like they've been looking for this stuff for a while. They understand that they're struggling. They can't quite find the information, and or so those people who want to take action typically have a feeling like they resonate with what I'm saying. So if you're somebody resonated and want to talk to me, Andre Coaching One, in the subject right, talk now. I will send you my calendar to my. I send you the link to my calendar. Find a space that's open, 1 hour, an hour and 15, really, and book it, and we'll have a conversation like this, one on one on Zoom, about what you're struggling with, what's your story, what's the challenge, what is it, right? And in that call, literally, whether in about 15 minutes, we go back to childhood, back to trauma, back to the events that change your life, right? That we carry the rest of our lives. So when you understand where the wheels came off as a child, as a little one, because it's always the formative years between 5 and 11. When you understand that the thing you believe about you is not your fault. It's the things that happen around you. If you weren't loved right, right, we carry this in life. So just finding out what that is for some people is very liberating. Like there's nothing wrong with me. Like it's just my parents were, yeah, that's it, right? But you took it personally. You think you're not lovable, you're not good enough. You know, the world is a scary place. Men are dangerous. No, no, no. It's a belief that you're carrying, and now you're proving. So in that call, like I said, we go to the right to the source and realize there's nothing wrong with you. A product of your past. So if we know what it is, we could fix it. Right? That's not work. And if we fix it, then what's the dream life? Marriage and kids, long-term companionship, whatever, right? Depending on your age bracket and what you want. So for people that are more brave and want to step in, and like I said, from there I'll explain to you different ways to get invested if you want to. But like I said, that call alone for some people changed their lives. So those are my gifts for you listeners.
Amazing, amazing. All right, I will
Mm.
also put your email address in the notes and
Okay, thank
your
you.
website as well, so
And
people
then
can find
people
you.
can request, yeah, people can request both gifts. I don't care. You can ask me questions, like literally email me something. I'll respond. You know what I mean? And it's I'm here to try to I'm here to help. So and I'm busy, but work me. I have plenty of space. I have a good team, and so yeah, bring it if you
Amazing.
want.
Amazing. Well, this has been a very amazing and valuable conversation. I
Thank
very
you.
much enjoyed it, and you're an amazing speaker, and I think you're an amazing teacher as well. And so I'm looking forward to seeing like how you take this more worldwide, because like you said, the world needs this. Like
I know. I
people
know.
need this, right?
I know.
And
I know.
so yeah, definitely some big conferences and things like that hopefully coming up.
That's what I'm shooting for. Absolutely.
Big workshops.
Bigger
Nice.
public event. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice, nice, nice.
Absolutely.
Amazing. All right. Would you have any
Thank you.
closing statements?
Well, I want to say thank you for helping me spread the hope because that's really what I'm doing here, right? I'm a bit of a disruptor, and so are you in helping me doing this. So that's the point. But the last thing I want to say is, this is what I do for a living. This is not a hobby. This is how I pay the house and the cars, right? This is like my job. And what I see that I find, I just want to put that in people's ear, right, on your consciousness is it's very very difficult to go against the grain of what's in the culture, the beliefs in the culture. So now we believe in a culture that women should be strong, independent, and powerful to be good women, and men should be sweet, sensitive, and vulnerable, and be the nice guys in order to qualify for women, right? And it's not how it works. That's like reverting the roles, masculine and feminine, and that also doesn't work. So what I mean is women are encouraged to be independent and boss babes and make some money and maybe later think of a family and a husband, and most of them can't do it. Too many years being in boss babe mode, I call masculine mode, that they can't attract the men who want to do that. Right. So what I'm saying is one of my assistants, she's 29 years old here in Los Angeles. She's 29 years old, wants 3 kids in the traditional life. She can't say this out loud. People attack her. Girl, you're better than me, some guy's slave. Girl, children will ruin your life. And she's like, can you just all drop dead? Can I be me? But what I'm saying is a lot of women get caught up with that belief, even though they want family
Mm,
relationship. They want men, but they're like boss babes, and no, you don't, can't take a shit. And so, so what I'm saying here is, ladies and gentlemen, think for yourselves. How do you want to live? How do
mm,
you want to do it? Do you want to be a mom and a wife? Do you want to be a husband and a dad? Do you want to create a legacy? You want to build a kingdom called a family, right? For you to actually be proud of getting up in the morning, have something tangible to build, that makes a good life on the other, in the end, right? The other way, I'm just saying. So be careful who you buy into. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful about the people, the tidal wave that's in the culture that is making us literally unable to come together in healthy relationships. So think for yourselves. Think for yourself what you want to do and go for it and forget anybody's bullshit.
yeah, yeah. That's an amazing ending point. I think I'm you caught my brain. Like we could go on and on about this, like you said, right? But yeah, like
Absolutely.
conforming to society, and especially based on where you live, right? Because I'm sure
Right.
depending on the states are huge, and just I like to tell people just sit down and literally journal about all of these things, right? And there's so many
Hmm.
different prompts and questions. Really write it out without
Yep.
thinking about anybody else. Like, what do you actually really want? And then also go deeper into why do you want it, right? And then
Absolutely.
make sure that
Absolutely.
it's coming from you, not from somebody else that somebody else told you. And
Right.
I get to talk about this a lot in terms of people, let's say, who want to start businesses and their parents told them that you're crazy, that's never going to work, just because that's my story, that's what I help people with. But
Mm-mm-mm.
in the terms of in the aspect of family and relationships and things like this, I think it's becoming bigger and bigger. Like you said, oh, be a boss babe, well, you want to have a man, like, oh, that sounds so awful, like, ugh,
Right.
that sounds so
Right.
awful. Mm,
It's just keeping people struggling and single and alone and hurting. Women are hurting. Men are hurting. Right. Women are more confused, and men are more like,
yeah, I don't
you
want
know what I
any
mean.
part of this.
Right. I don't want to be toxic. Apparently, I'm a pig. Right. Like, all that. So everybody's jumping back and out. And in
Yep.
the end, we're not made to be alone. Human beings are made to be pair bonded. That's nature. So to keep us apart, to keep us separate out of like the damn culture and the stupid shit they're telling us, that's the new normal. Yeah, no, that's what doesn't work. So, and again, in a time where we have equality and the things should be much easier because everything is now equal, right? We equalize the playing field. It should be easier. It should be better. And look what happened.
Yeah.
It's the worst because it's against nature. It's the worst. There's a reason. So I'm not talking about going back to the 50s, by the way. I always get accused of that. Oh, so should we dumb it? Should we dumb it down for you guys and just get barefoot and pray? I'm like, shut up. That's not what I said. That's rude. What I'm saying it is a modern way to do what's traditional that works best, that is lined up with nature.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And again, it's not even a gender thing, right? Like, it could be two men, two women, a man and a woman. When you understand the flow that's natural, yin yang, masculine and feminine, positive, negative magnets, what works is always polarized, and that's nature altogether. We neutralize everyone, and we think we're better. That's what doesn't work.
Yeah. All right. Well, this
I
has
just
been
went off. I'm sorry. I
once
just went
again
off a little bit.
this has been an amazing conversation. Yeah, well, like I said, we could both get caught in this. I can sense that we have both like a lot of energy to go against society. I like when Vishen Lakiani, the founder of Mind Valley, says rules, bullshit rules that society has, right? That don't make
Hmm.
any sense. Um, but yeah, that's a whole nother. We can do a follow up on this in a couple months, let's say,
That
and
let's for sure. There's a lot to
if you
talk
have a
about.
if you have a conference coming up or something with something bigger as well, we can have a
For
conversation
sure.
and promote this. Because I don't get to talk about relationships a lot, but obviously relationships are a huge part of
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
lives, right?
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
life personally as
Absolutely.
well. Um,
Also, I have a live event. I just thought of that. I have a live event on the 19th. So in 9 days,
nice,
I have a live Zoom event. So again, if you email me, I'll send you the link, or you go on Instagram. It's right there on top. Like, go to the link tree on Instagram, and it'll be right there for you. If you want to come and play with me wherever you are in the world for like, an hour and a half, uh, Thursday in 10 days. Um, that's a way to like kind of get involved and learn some stuff and answer
amazing,
questions and all that stuff. So it's another
amazing,
offer. Thank you.
amazing. Good stuff, good stuff. All right. Well, so that's gonna be it for today. Thanks anybody who was listening and watching. Hope you got value out of this, and see you next time. Bye, everybody.